We're going to talk about healthy practices for parenting younger children. This is going to be great. All right, number 1, act as the clear authority in the home. Make decisions confidently. Do not negotiate rules with your children. They're 6. They don't need to be making rules. Otherwise, you'd be eating ice cream for breakfast. You would not have a bedtime. Don't negotiate rules with the children. Make decisions. Be the clear authority. That gives them confidence. If they know that there's somebody who is leading, who is in charge, they're not responsible for those. They're not equipped to handle that type of responsibility at a young age. Be the authority. Establish rules. Make them clear. Make them wise. Make them biblical. But establish them. Let them know what those boundaries are. So be the clear authority in the home. Number 2, give fewer explanations and more instructions. State your expectations simply. Avoid long debates or justifications. In other words, be like, but why? Anybody ever heard the why? I get it all the time. You know what? I'm not, and I'll give a quick explanation. They're like, but you know what I want you to do. I just need you to do it. But I'm like, no. We don't need to talk about it anymore. You know exactly what you do. You know everything you need to do it. Just go do it. Fewer explanations. Sometimes we just explain things or we're talking for 30 minutes trying to figure out what to... Stop that. Let them know. That's not what we're doing. I'm not here having a discourse with you. I just need you to do this. That's what it is. So more instructions. Boom. Do you understand what you need to do? But what about... Okay, if I wasn't clear enough, but we're not deep diving into the weeds of all the stuff around it. I told you to go clean up your room. But what about... No, that's... We'll talk about that afterward, but we're not going to have that discussion until you're done cleaning your room. Be that authority, set those instructions, and stop explaining things down to the crazy minutia of stuff. If they've got everything they need to do it, they need to be doing it. So just have them do that. So take less time explaining things, just clearly instruct what you want them to do. Number 3, follow through every time you give a directive. Consistency matters more than severity. So you're like, if you don't listen right now, and we escalate these things every time. Just be consistent every time. Okay, you know what I want you to do. I've told you to do it. You know what happens if you don't. And they can learn to expect that. I enjoy consistency. I know what to expect when I come in. I laugh. I tell people that's why I majored in math in college. Like I got my degree in math, my master's, because 1 and 1 is always 2. 2 and 2 times 2 is like I just knew what to expect. If I had my formula, I had to solve for X, I know how to get it. I didn't like English because it was like, here's your rule. Except for I thought I was always before E. Yes, except for and all the exceptions, right? Don't make that your parenting style. Let them know, wow, Dad said to do this. I need to do this. Dad said if I do this, I got to hurry up and get this done so that let them know consistency is important. Follow through every time you give a directive. If they can find a little loophole to work their way around, or they know if they push hard enough, you finally just give in, do you know what they're going to do every time? Let them know. They're going to push and push. It ain't moving. That's important, that consistency there. Number 4, this is a difficult one for us. I'll say for me as a parent, when I say for us as parents, I don't intend necessarily to speak for you. I know I can struggle with this one as a girl dad. Don't rescue your children from their natural consequences. Natural consequences are a beautiful learning tool that God gave us. And so don't rescue them from that. That doesn't mean, well, I got to go let them run into the street and they're going to run over by a car. No, that is not what I just said. But natural consequences, let them learn the experience, the outcome of forgetfulness. But Dad, I forgot my book. Sorry, I can't turn around at this point. We're going to be late. We're just going to have to not have your book today. But Dad, I won't be able to go to gym. I don't have my gym shoes. Sorry. You're going to have to do that. I told you 3 times to put them in your bag and you didn't listen. So I'm not saying just because they maybe forgot something they weren't equipped for, but I'm saying if you told them something and they didn't do it, or they were too lazy, or they just forgot and they didn't pay attention, did something else, let them deal with the natural consequence of that. Poor choices, sometimes that's how they learn. Like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened. I told you not to. Or, hey, now we learned something. Like natural consequences, I think, are one of the greatest teaching tools out there. I don't even have to add a consequence on top of it. Yeah, I know you broke your leg and now you're grounded. What? Like, no. But sometimes, like, natural consequences are just a really great teaching moment. Capitalize on those. Don't just rescue them every time. Then they start to realize, oh, good. If I just cry hard enough, Dad will take care of it. Don't be that outlet for them. That sets them up for failure later in life. Because natural consequences don't just go away. They just get more severe the older you get. Bless you. So don't rescue them from natural consequences. Number 5, establish your household rules early and clearly. Children do better when expectations are predictable and stable. So they thrive within assessed boundaries. The idea is, hey, just tell me what my fence lines are, and I have freedom within those. It's the same thing for your household rules. Let them know, here are the boundaries, here are the lines, here's what we do, here's what we don't do. They know where they are, and establish those rules early and clearly. I will say this, if you establish a boundary, you have to establish a consequence attached with it, because if you don't have a consequence, you don't have a boundary. It's as simple as you can say it. If you say, hey, don't do this, and they do it and nothing happens, they now realize they don't have to listen to you. There is no consequence attached with it. If I know, like, oh, if I do that, this is going to happen, and I do that and that happens, I know not to do that, or that happens. Versus if I step over it, nothing happens. Oh, I have an in-ground fence for our dog, right? If she gets too close to it, beep, 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 and if she gets too close, like, shocks her. It's amazing now. She stays like 2 feet away from that line at all times, all the way around my property. She figured out where the boundary was, and she realized if I step over it, there's a consequence. Helped establish the boundary. That doesn't hurt her. It keeps her safe. There's no way she can get run over if she stays within her boundaries. She's safe there. That's what we're establishing with our rules. It's not to restrict our children. It's to give them freedom and not have to worry about what would happen to them if they step outside of them. So establish wise boundaries. But that's the idea. Make it early and clearly. Limit excessive praise. You're like, wait, what? Not supposed to praise my children? No, what I'm saying is don't praise them and tell them they did good when they did bad. This happens so much. I get to witness this all the time. And I'm like, if they're not doing right, stop praising them for it. Let them know, no, hey, you did wrong. You're like, it's going to hurt their psyche. It's amazing how resilient a 4-year-old is in their psyche, all right? I coach 5- and 6-year-olds. When they mess up, I don't tell them, you did that perfectly. No, I don't have to be a jerk about it, but like, hey, I saw you trying really hard. Here's how we're going to do that. I need you to do it this way. I don't have to be a jerk about it. I'm not screaming at 5-year-olds. But I also don't want to reinforce a wrong action as a good action. So the idea of excessive praise, be like, no, we only ever say positivity. You're going to struggle to parent if you're only allowed to use positive words. The word no is a great word. Like, they need to hear that sometimes. Like, hey, no, don't do that. Like, don't praise them when they're doing wrong. That's not a healthy parenting strategy, okay? So limit excessive praise. Focus more on behavior standards than on constantly boosting self-esteem. Like, I know they're always doing wrong, but man, they feel good about themselves. Okay, congratulations. Like, I don't know what we're going for with that, right? Like, no, there probably will be some moments in life when they step out of line, they might feel bad about what they did. That's a good thing. That's okay. Because it gives a chance for restoration. It gives a chance for them to then experience the way it feels when they do what's right. And you're hoping to establish that on that heart level, right? It's not just about, no matter what I do, I know my dad will always tell me I'm great. No, sometimes there has to be that negative side of it. You have to be mean, right? So I think you guys understand what I'm saying with that. I'm saying be a jerk. You're like, you're terrible. No, you can even phrase your correction in a positive way, but sometimes there has to be that negative aspect of it. It can't just be constantly, oh, you're so good at that. No, teach them. That's part of teaching is sometimes realize you didn't get it right the first time. That's like what we do in these sessions, right? Like we learn. My wife and I just went to Branson last weekend for a marriage weekend. The day I got back, I taught premarital counseling for a couple. Well, how come a guy teaching premarital counseling had to go to a marriage weekend? Because there are still things I need to learn. And there are moments there, even as a guy that was teaching counseling of marriage, I realized, yeah, I am not doing well with that. And it wasn't a terrible thing, and it wrecked my psyche. It made me more thrilled when I got back to then share even what I had learned. It's the same thing. Limit just excessive, exuberant praise. Praise them, build them up, but understand there are times you actually have to teach them and train them up as well. Okay? So that's what that point means. Okay? Don't leave here and be like, Pastor Nate said not to compliment my children. It's not what I said. And I'm recording it now, so that's on film. Number 7, require respectful behavior immediately. Correct disrespect in the moment. Not, we're going to talk about this later only. Because if you're like me or any other parent, there are sometimes that later never actually shows up. Because you get crazy, you forget, and whatever. And the kids are banking on it, right? They're like, man, maybe Dad will forget when we get home. He said when we get home, this is going to happen. Correct it in the moment. Deal with it while it's there. Require respectful behavior immediately. Number 8, avoid bargaining with your children. If you please just stop throwing that amazing tantrum, I'll buy you what you want. They now realize they have a whole lot more leverage with you than they should have. Do not bargain to get obedience. Obedience is not negotiable. So be careful with bargaining. Rules are not up for negotiation once they are established. Bargaining just sets you up for trouble because they just learn later on. They're little swindlers, man. They'll bargain for more and more and more. The stakes get higher. You're like, man, last time it only cost me a candy bar. Now you want to go up for Dairy Queen? Like, next time you want me to buy you a car? Like, really? Like, be careful with that. Establishing that bargaining as the method to get obedience is not what you want. That's not a heart level thing. That's actually training the heart in a negative way. So you're teaching them to find ways to work around to get what they want versus actually do what they're supposed to. So be careful with that about bargaining with children. Use short, calm commands instead of emotional reactions. Here you go, volatility and honesty moment. Am I the only one or anybody else ever had an emotional reaction with a child that you were not proud of? Welcome to our support group, okay? We just had a parenting class that went for like 20 weeks. That's a support class, all right? Everybody's there like, yep, didn't get that one right. Use short, calm commands. This is where you have to be careful about being just all about self-control and making sure that you're in the right place with the Holy Spirit in your life. Because you will get stressed and you will get pushed to the extreme of your abilities. And then after the third time, you're just like you feel it rising up. Be very careful at those moments. You got to lean into your relationship with God and say, Lord, I need your help right now because I'm about to lose it. Okay? And you can't afford those. And once again, I go back to kids are resilient. They really are very grace-filled to us as parents. It's amazing. I've had to ask forgiveness from my children on things. But use short, calm commands. Emotionally charged lectures ultimately weaken your authority. When they realize you're just an emotional leader, it generally means that you're not as steady and steadfast as you should be. Versus the person that's the calm captain in the middle of the storm. He's not freaked out. He's just chilling. He's like, no, we got this. I'm like, all right, good. If he's not freaking out, I'm not freaking out. That's the idea. Use short, calm commands instead of emotional reaction. There was a little kid on an airplane, and he was sitting by himself, and he had 2 old people next to him, and they started going through some brutal turbulence. The old people gripped their, look at that. And they looked over him, and he was just sitting there eating his snacks, looking out the window. And it got worse, and the parents, the old people looked over, and he's smiling and enjoying it. And then as they got through the turbulence and calmed out, they're like, little boy, how are you just so calm through all of that? Like, I was terrified. How are you good? He's like, my dad's the pilot. He had no concerns, even though everything was bumpy, even though it was difficult, because he has so much confidence in his father in that moment. He's like, no, things are good. This isn't going to scare him. It's not going to scare me. Be very careful with the emotional reactions. Kids are great at emotional reactions. They have big feelings. They have big emotions. They react big. If you do that, it's just going to make it even worse. You have to be the calming influence in those moments. So work on that. If you're the one, like somebody who's like, I got so mad I punched the wall. That proved nothing other than you're an idiot. Like, that's all that proves to me. I'm like, okay, congratulations. Like, so what? Like, they say it like a brag, and I'm like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Like, what does that prove other than the fact that you have no control over your emotions, then you're going to discipline your children because they didn't control their emotions? Like, what right do you have to do that if you can't even control yours? So be careful with doing that. Use short, calm commands. Don't lose control. Just, hey, here's where it is. And they're all upset. Keep it under control. That's where you might have to grow in your relationship with the Holy Spirit and yourself. Do some things that help you work through that so you can help them work through that. Number 10, prioritize obedience over discussion, especially in younger children. Teaching compliance first makes later reasoning more effective. The idea that I heard once, delayed obedience is still disobedience. I'm going to do it. No. I didn't ask you to eventually schedule it and get it onto your 4-year-old calendar. I would like you to do that now, please. But, Dad, doing really important things. Put down the grass clippings and the rocks that you're stacking up on my driveway and go do what I asked you to do. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Teach them that you want that now. Like, hey, you can come back to this, but I'm asking you to do this. Don't discuss it. Expect it. So that's important. Number 11, start assigning age-appropriate responsibilities early. I mentioned this on the other paper. Start giving them some chores, things to do. Have them start to clean up their room. Have them start to help put away the clothes. Maybe they're not old enough to do their own laundry. They can help you put them back in the drawers. Help them pick up the basement. They're old enough to start grabbing things. They're old enough to understand that. Show them how to do it. Get down there with them. Model it. Be like, hey, help me pick these up. These go in here. Oh, a lot of times old kids think that's a game now. No, do it. But have them start to help with that already at a young age. Start giving them chores. Don't overschedule or entertain your children constantly. We have a generation that is no longer bored. And we have a generation that is no longer able to creatively think or use their imagination. If it's not created on a screen for them in an image, they struggle and they're just bored. Like, this is boring. Dad, I know nothing to do. I'm just bored. Anybody ever heard that one? I'm like, good. Figure out something to do. There's nothing to do. I'm like, as a kid, all I had was a stick and a rock. That was it. You were like, what happened? You got grounded. They took away your toys? Yeah, my stick and my rock. I went and got a new one. Like, I had nothing. And it was amazing just how entertained we were with sticks and rocks. Send them outside. Take them to a park. Do something to get them somewhere. When we moved here, we lived in an apartment and there was nowhere outside really to play. So we had to schedule it, but we took time, sent them to the park. Walked down there and I would try to work on my phone or so if I was in the middle of it, trying to make sure they had to get outside to do something that wasn't screen related or wasn't something that was keeping them occupied. Let them be bored for a little bit. That is good for their mind to be bored. So don't overschedule or entertain children constantly. That boredom can encourage creativity and independence. Separate love from permissiveness. Being loving doesn't mean you allow undisciplined behavior. If you love them, often you will have to discipline. Now, this is not a class on like, well, what do you mean by discipline? Everybody's all over the spectrum on that one. I'm not here to tell you what that looks like. I think you need to wisely look at biblical principle and get some wise input and counsel from what discipline should look like. And I think as they get older, that discipline looks different as well. It's all across the board. But I think you need to have discipline. But separate love from permissiveness. If you love them, there's going to be things you don't let them do. You're like, well, I love them. I need to let... Not true love. Real love, sometimes you're going to step in and stop them. So separate love from permissiveness. Number 14, correct behavior immediately, not later in long discussions. Timing matters more than necessarily the perfect wording. We kind of already talked about that one for a second, but correct behavior immediately, not later in long discussions. Number 15, keep discipline simple and predictable and based on clear expectations. So keep discipline simple and predictable and based on clear expectations. Once again, we talked about this a little bit ago. The idea is, if they got in trouble for it yesterday, don't laugh about it today. If you laughed about it yesterday, be careful about making it some corporal punishment situation today. All that's going to do is breed rebellion. All it's going to do is cause distrust in your leadership because now they don't even know what to expect out of you. They're like, dude, last day you laughed at this and now today you're mad at me. They don't know who to be tomorrow. Let them know. Here's what the lines are. The discipline is simple. You know what to expect. Hey, if you do this, this is going to happen. And then it does and it happens. That is good for them. There's safety in that. So they need that. So keep it simple, predictable, but based on clear expectations. Number 16, maintain parental unity. Not every situation has a husband and a wife working together. Sometimes you have a single parent situation. Sometimes you have some struggles there. But maintain parental unity. If you have a child that is probably over the age of 5 and you are married, you have probably found a situation where they have attempted to go to the other adult and get a different answer. At least my children have. They're like, Dad, can we do this? What did your mom say? No. Then you know my answer. What are you talking about? I don't want to get grounded, right? Like, don't you be doing that to me, bro. So the reality is, though, we got to make sure we're unified. So when there's a rule, even if it's not my personal preference, we've agreed on where it is. And so understanding that, and that's where some of that comes in, even in a marriage relationship, making sure you're working through things. You can stay on the same page so that you can then parent on a unified front. So if they find that there's any type of disunity there, they found an angle. And they will try to pit people against you. Bless you again. They will try to pit each other, yourselves against each other. So don't compete or contradict with each other. Be consistent and unified. 17, reduce over-involvement in every child emotion. Not every frustration demands parental intervention. There will be some moments you just need to let them have that emotion. But they're crying. Let them cry. They need to work through that on some level. You're not going to be there to be their emotional regulation their entire life. The reason why some teenagers today, I think, struggle with emotional regulation is they never had to learn it when they were younger. If they cried, mom stepped in. If they were struggling, dad stepped in. Every single thing was an intervention by a parent, and now suddenly the parents aren't around and they don't know how to regulate it. Let them start at an early age, working through some of those emotions. They don't require over-involvement in them. That's not saying don't be loving. That's not saying step in when they need you. But there are some moments they're just feeling a strong emotion at that time. Let them work through that a little bit. That's not bad. They need to learn how to regulate those emotions. My son Nate, him, has always felt big emotions. And like when he felt them, he felt them. And there were some moments where we just had to let him work through some of that. And then we would step in and we would try to parent a little bit. But that's actually the big reason we switched to even homeschooling. Was because he was struggling so much in classroom-related things with his huge emotions that he was just getting sent out of the classroom repeatedly. And then he was internalizing and thinking, I must just be a bad kid. I'm just terrible. And he couldn't regulate. And we had to work with him intentionally, work through regulation. He'd get so angry if he didn't come in first and everything. So I had to start intentionally playing board games with him. Because I had to help him work through those big emotions when he would lose. So I had to try to intentionally work through some of those things with him. Trying to help him. But I had to let him kind of do that. I couldn't coach him through everything. There were times I just had to let him work through some of those emotions. You might have a strong emotional child. Let them work through some of those things, okay? You're like, you understand what that means? Yep. Extra headphones in the house, okay? No, I'm just saying sometimes, though, they need to learn how to regulate that on their own. You won't always be there. And our goal in parenting is to prepare them to live without us. It's the ultimate goal of parenting. So make sure you are not stepping in every time they have an emotion. Number 18, encourage independence instead of dependency. Teach them to solve problems before stepping in. Don't always give them solutions. Maybe help them work towards a solution. Offer up ideas. Let them kind of think it through, work towards it. Even at a young age, this begins building confidence in their ability to solve problems. You want them to start doing that. You can kind of help them a little bit, but help them start working through just simple things that way. Encourage independence instead of dependency. This one can be difficult for parents because we want to be the one they come to if they have a problem. Like, I want to be the one that can solve the problem. But ultimately, they have to learn to live through life depending on God and the ability to seek Him versus just me. And I want them prepared for that. Encouraging independence. It seems like, why are we talking about this? My kids are 2. Seems kind of early to talk about that. Talk to anybody that has a teenager or an adult child, and they'll tell you just how quickly they become that teenager or adult child. 83%, I believe, is the percentage of the time that you will spend with your child is before they're 18. 83% of your existence is at that point. Take advantage of it, but train them for that rest of that time of their life where you won't be there. Courage, independence. Number 19, shift your parenting style as your children age. There's a couple books up here that we've gone through that in our parenting group that talk about this kind of in detail, which is really, really good as far as kind of that parenting shift that'll happen. The book Parenting by Tripp is a great one. Reaching Your Child's Heart was another good one that we just went through. Those two are up there. Those are good books that I think you would enjoy. But it talks about how you're going to shift from more of a hands-on control at this stage. There's a whole lot of hands-on. versus more of coaching and mentoring when you get to the teen years. It's more of like when I'm coaching my 5-year-old soccer team, I'm literally in the games out on the field with them. And I'm like, no, dribble the right way, Lorelai. Like, wrong goal. And I'm out there. I'm more hands-on. I'm right involved. And then on my 12-year-old team, I'm staying on the sideline the whole time. And I'm hoping they remembered what we covered in practice. I might yell out an instruction here or there, but I'm not as involved on the field anymore. I've moved more to that coaching point. As your kids get older, that's what you have to begin to do as a parent. It doesn't mean that you're no longer involved. It doesn't mean you no longer care. It just looks a little different. And the hope is that as they're younger, we're putting everything in place. We're training. We're intensely training it so that I can begin to draw back and watch as they become the independent person God wants them to be. And so understand that you shift your parenting style as they get older. And number 20, focus on character outcomes, not just momentary happiness. Focus on character outcomes, not just momentary happiness. The goal is ultimately responsible adulthood, not constant short-term comfort. So understand that might make some discomfort right now as they're younger because this isn't what you're training for. Right? We're setting them up for success. And so those are kind of some 20 basic, simple kind of thoughts about healthy practices for parenting younger children. I know maybe a lot of that didn't dive in too specific with things. We got about 10 minutes left. Does anybody have a question related to anything maybe that was shared here? Maybe I missed a blank. I don't know if I did or not. Or something that was mentioned from the practical side or something you have a question on. Anybody got one for the group in relation to anything parent/younger child related on some capacity? Sometimes it's awkward to be like, I don't want to ask the question. I want to write it on the paper and turn it in later. That's fine too.
Do I have to show unity if me and her don't agree on if we want to get a puppy?
Who wants the puppy?
I do.
Then I think you need a puppy. Wait, what? No. Sorry, in my premarital counseling session with Sam and Abby, they just got married about a month ago. He was talking about how he needed a fishing boat and everything. I'm like, what? She's like, I think that we were talking about finances. She's like, I think that's more of a want. I'm like, no, that's a need. New bow, new hunting rifle, new fishing boat. So I
mean, the kids are 100% on my side.
You know what I'm saying? I think we're all unified in saying good luck. So that's oh, that's funny.
We have a very strong-willed 4-year-old who is kind of a mama's boy. And so, like, this morning is a perfect example. Like, we're trying to get him to eat breakfast. And I need to get ready. And I just cannot, I can't just let him sit in him being uncomfortable. And I'm always trying to, save him, right? So what can I do in those moments? Because I want him to be able to, be the leader without me kind of, interceding that.
As far as him being the leader, you're talking about your 4-year-old?
Well, no,
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I was trying to understand. I'm like, trying to follow.
My husband being able to be...
Because your son is more of a mama's boy.
Yes.
I'm understanding there now.
Yeah.
Behind the door screaming, trying to kick it,
I'm trying to shower.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's just, he's very sweet. He's not but if I am not there, and it's just him, it's, no.
Yeah. Yeah, some of that is going to be a matter of growing a little bit. Some of that does begin to grow a little bit as they do get older. But it also is a matter of if that's an unacceptable behavior, like, hey, you're allowed to be angry. The Bible says be angry but sin not. There's a very explicit layer there as far as you can feel the strong emotions, but you're not allowed to act like that. Needs to be some type of a correction established with that action. You need to understand that he's more than welcome to desperately miss mom.
Yeah.
But you are not allowed to break things. You're not allowed to kick things. You're not allowed to throw a tantrum like that. Here is your, whatever the correction would be, let him know. Here's what's going to happen. Or if it's hey, if you don't just sit there and eat your food, you're going to be really hungry.
Yeah.
It's okay for them to miss a meal. They won't die.
Yeah.
And I think 2 days ago, one of my children missed their meal because they just didn't listen to me. And I said, I told you to eat. We're leaving now. I'm so hungry. I'm like, well, should have probably done that during the last 15 minutes when you had time. Get in the car. And some people would say, you're a horrible father. I'm like, it's amazing. My kid ate their next meal, and they were happy for it. So I would honestly say, and I understand, I'm not even trying to make light of it. I know that that's a very like sincere, difficult struggle.
It is, yeah.
I would say just explaining once again, reestablishing however those boundaries are. Be like, hey, if you're angry, you're still not allowed to, whatever that would be. And if you do that, here is what's going to happen. So that he begins to hopefully realize, well, I don't want to do it that way because that did happen. And when mom wasn't just coddling me when she got home, like, boom, it explained the discipline came out, right? Like, it wasn't just, hey, I'm going to help you back through that. It was like, you did what mom told you not to do. And there's a rule. And so let them try to figure out, even at that age at 4, they can understand boundary, stepping over it, and consequence. And so it's just kind of really establishing that. And even though he caters more towards you, making sure that he understands he's on that same level as you. He needs to see that in his mind. Because at some point, he made a distinction that as long as I scream loud enough, hard enough, and everything for mom, it doesn't matter what dad does.